As you know, I'm Keith Garner. I live in Fountain Hills. I'm an emergency room physician, and I live and work in Iowa. My story is I want to testify that I used to be a raging agnostic. I hated God. I lived in a small town called Cherokee, Iowa. I physically ran born-again Christians out of town. Now I have become a Christian. I've given my heart to God. My goal is to walk and talk with God like Enoch. I talk to him all the time. And the tremendous change that's occurred in my life, how peaceful I am now, and it's my testimony how wonderful God is when you give your life to him and dedicate yourself to him and you do work for him.
Amen.
So I just want to start my life story. I'm in Cherokee, Iowa, as I said. My son is a genius mechanic. I had a stock drag racing team called the Witch Doctors, which you saw today. We had won national championships, set world records for both speed and elapsed time. And both of us were single. Needless to say, we had chicks falling all over us. And I was an emergency room physician. 2 days a week when I wasn't an emergency room physician, I was helping Creighton Cardiology, doing some field studies. So I had an office in a multi-specialty clinic. So I had patients coming and seeing me. So I had some of my trophies and everything in my office. So one day, this was about 18 years ago probably, my receptionist comes back and she says, "You're not going to believe this, but there's a guy out here that wants to see you and he doesn't want to make an appointment." And I said, "What's the matter with him? Nobody sees me and don't make an appointment. What is this?" And she says, "Well, he's a minister." And I said, "You know I don't see ministers. You throw him out of here. I won't talk to him." She comes back, she says, "He won't leave." And I said, "Well, you know, I could call the cops. I could get him thrown out here, but that'd look bad, all the other doctors, patients." "Okay, have him come back." So we come back to my office, and he says, "I'm Pastor so-and-so." And I said, "Listen," I said, "You see these trophies on the wall? You know what they are? They're national championship trophies. My son and I run a drag race. You see the pictures? Yes. See the plaques on the wall? Yes. You know what they are? No. They're world records." Now he says, "I don't need God for anything. I'm a successful physician. I'm a successful racer. I don't want nothing to do with God. I hate God. So get out of here. If you don't get out of here, I'm going to throw you out. I'm going to call cops on you." "Okay," he says, so we left. So we won another race and life went on. A couple of years later, she comes back and she says, "For sure you're not going to believe this. There's another minister out there." I said, "Oh." A little profanity, and I said, "Okay, we'll just put him in the exam room. I'll get rid of him." So he comes in the exam room and he says, "Hi." He said, "I just was walking down the street and I got impressed that I should come and talk to you." He says, "I live up in Spencer, Iowa, which is a town about 40 miles away." And he says, "We're having a health fair at the Spencer Fair. Anybody from Iowa knows Spencer Fair is fairly famous." And he says, "I would like to have your help to set up a health fair." Well, he's a nice guy, so I said, "Okay." I said, "Well," and we talked a little bit, and I said, "Okay, I can't talk to you now, but if you want to come up to my house after I get done, why, we can talk to you up there." So I came up there, and we talked to him, and he came back the next week, tell me how things were going. And he was really, really a nice guy, and I really liked him, so I said, "Okay." So about the second time he came back then, I says, "You're a pastor, aren't you?" "Yes." I said, "What church you belong to?" And he says, "I'm a Seventh-day Adventist." I said, "Oh, I hate Seventh-day Adventists. I don't want anything to do with Seventh-day Adventists. I don't want anything to do with Seventh-day Adventist God, because he won't let me do anything. So I don't you ever talk about God again in my presence, ever." Okay. So he came back, we talked a few times, and it was about 6 or 7 times he came back, and I took him out for supper. We had a real nice time. So he says, "Do you mind if I pray?" He said, "I'm a pastor." And he said, "Do you mind if I pray?" I said, "I thought I told you not to talk about it." Well, he said, "No, I'm not going to talk to you about it. I just want to talk to God. So you mind if I pray?" I said, okay, I guess, I don't know. So he knelt down, he started praying, and then he says, why don't you do me a personal favor? I says, what do you want me to do? And he says, you tell everybody else what you think. He says, why don't you tell God what you think of him? Well, I don't know. I don't talk to God. He said, well, just do me this personal favor. Just kneel down here and just tell God what you think. Well, okay. So I knelt down and I said, listen, God. I said, you know, I don't want nothing to do with you. This guy wants me to talk to you, so I'm talking to you. Now just, excuse me, leave me alone. And I had this funny feeling come over me. I felt like I was starting, you know, to kind of float away like I was on some kind of a drug or something. And I remember saying, but just in case I'm wrong, I knew that I was a miracle baby, and I'd fought this my whole life. And I said, just in case I'm wrong, and you really do love me, there's really something to this Mickey Mouse about you and us. I want you to tell me right now, you know my ancestors came from northern Germany. You know they fought with Rommel in World War II. So I want you to hit me. I want you to tell me right now, no messing around. I want you to tell me right now that I'm wrong. I get emotional too. I got smashed down in that sofa, physically, like I got hit by a 10-foot wave in the ocean. I just got smashed right down the sofa. Couldn't breathe. I thought I'm fighting for my life. What's going on here? I started to cry. I hadn't cried in 35 years. I'll explain that later. I got done crying, and I sat up on the sofa, and of course the pastor put his arm around me. And I said, what in the world is going on? And he says, Keith, he says, you got smacked down like Saul of Tarsus